Well, we've been listening in to President Bush. He had a few comments, also received a briefing in this hangar in Mobile, Alabama. He arrived there within the last half hour. President Bush being very honest earlier today, saying he's not satisfied with the results he's seen so far, but today now saying where it's not going right, we're going to make it right. A quote from the president, also making reference to the $10.5 billion that Congress has appropriated to help get things started in the rebuilding and the repair of the Gulf Coast. He said, I got news for you, that's just a small down payment on the work that needs to be done. And he believes that out of the chaos is going to become a rebuilt Gulf Coast. We were talking with our senior political analyst, Bill Schneider, before we went to this. Bill, before we heard the president's comments, I got to say that was rather an odd thing to be watching. The president finally making it to the Gulf Coast after 5 days and then spending a big chunk of time when he could be out seeing the devastation, getting a briefing that, frankly, he could have gotten back at the White House, if not then on board Air Force One. A lot of that seemed like a political opportunity for the cameras and for the Republican governors of Mississippi and Alabama.
Well, it did, and I'm not sure that's what most Americans and certainly most people in the area wanted to hear, as if the president were being filled in, told what was going on. There was a lot of thanking, a lot of congratulations. Look, these are frantic, desperate people who have lost everything, who are in a very desperate situation. What they want is someone to come there and say, the government is in control. We have control of this situation. There's a leader in charge here, and we're going to make it work. Eventually, he did get to his point, and his point was that his priorities were the right priorities. Number one, saving lives. Number two, restoring order. But what people want there is leadership. They don't want someone being briefed. They want leadership.
And this is a president that's very well aware of his father's legacy, President Bush 41, who will be part of, with former President Clinton, helping to raise private funds to help rebuild this area. But the first President Bush criticized resoundingly in 1992 for how he handled Hurricane Andrew and that situation in Florida.
That's right. He was criticized for that. This situation is that was bad. It was tragic. This is dire because of the scenes of people dying, because of the out-of-control chaos that we're seeing in New Orleans. This just dramatizes for all the world to see a situation that no one could imagine happening in the United States, a total collapse of authority and government. That is very frightening. The president just mentioned that the Gulf Coast looks like it was obliterated by a weapon. That's got to bring to mind the image, suppose there were weapons, suppose a terrorist attack. Would we be more in control of the situation then than we are now?
Bill Schneider joining us live from Washington, D.C. Thank you for your analysis as we watch President Bush's visit from Mobile, Alabama into New Orleans.